My name is Brittany Jones Cooper, and welcome back to Build. Our guest today is Holly Robinson Peete, who has been a fixture on TV for decades. First on the show 21 Jump Street, and then on one of my favorite shows, Hanging with Mr. Cooper, who love that show, right? Well, now she has her own reality show called Meet the Peetes, where she and her husband Rodney navigate their marriage, parenthood, and her mom, who lives in the guest house. Let's check out a clip.
So, hun, when I go to New York, there are a few things I'm gonna need you to handle.
Like what?
I need you to take Robinson to get a tux for his homecoming. Don't impose your style on him.
I'm not. Not only taking him shopping for a tux and getting that right, but I also want to talk to Robinson about how to treat a lady. There are certain things that they need to learn regarding girls. In fact, I have some etiquette things that I'm gonna work on with the boys.
Etiquette?
Yeah.
Who are you, Emily Post?
No, I'm M Post.
What? I think Robinson is a lot more savvy about how to treat a lady than you think he is. I think he'll surprise you.
He still needs some pointers.
Like what? What would be a pointer that you would
He hasn't
give
been
him?
on a real date yet. There's certain things that they need to learn that we may have
Regarding
kinda
what? Women,
let
girls?
lapse or slip a little bit. Regarding girls, regarding, you know, pulling out chairs,
That's true,
tying
but-
a tie. I mean, there's things that they need to learn.
There are things that they need to learn,
Yeah.
yes. They're not cavemen.
Guys, give it up for Holly Robinson Peete.
Hi.
Welcome to New
Hi.
York.
Thank you. Ooh, this is a hot mic.
I know. You came on a good day. The weather's beautiful.
I cannot
outside.
believe this weather. It is colder in Los Angeles
I
than it
believe
is
it.
here.
I did not wear a coat today, and
It's
I felt really
crazy.
uncomfortable, but I loved it.
I had to check the calendar.
Yeah, and you're coming to New York, and your daughter lives here, so is that fun to just get to see her? And
Yeah, she's at NYU. She's a sophomore right around the corner. So really cool to see her be a New Yorker. Like she was like, Mom, don't text and walk in the street. I'm like, I've been to New York a few times, but she's like a full-on New Yorker now.
the thing is, if you text and walk, you have to move to the curb. Like
There's a whole
There's a
thing.
whole ritual for what to do
When I went to school here, I went to school in Bronxville and at Sarah Lawrence. But I spent some time in there. Back then we didn't text, so there were some actual little tips that she gave me
That's awesome.
that I found useful.
And I saw you recently, before we talk about the show, I saw that you were at All-Star Weekend with
Yes.
Miss Tina.
Yes, I was at All-Star Weekend. I've been doing all the big events. I went to Super Bowl where my team won. Yes. Come on, NFC. It's still NFC. And the Eagles won. And then All-Star Weekend, which was in LA, and it was crazy, and everyone was there.
Everybody was there, and I saw a
Yeah.
picture Miss Tina tweeted or put on her Instagram. And
Yeah,
you look so-
her and I are very good friends.
Yeah.
Miss Tina is Beyonce's mom, to drop a name, but she's a lovely lady. We became friends a couple years ago, and she's just so much fun to be around.
Yeah,
so.
I love following her Instagram.
Oh,
She's just living
is-
her best life.
And don't take her on, because don't come for her.
Oh, I saw somebody went for her, and she shut him down and blocked him.
No, she doesn't play. But I
As
love
you
her.
do.
She's an amazing mom, of course, of Solange and Beyonce, and so much fun to be around.
So you have been, like you said, very busy. On top of going to all these events, Meet the Peetes debuted last week, right?
Yeah, I did.
So what does that feel like? I'm sure you guys have been working and shooting for months. So to actually get to see the finished product, the editing, how did you
Yeah.
feel seeing
This
it?
this genre is really different. We have a big family, so we have all of us plus my mom plus 4 dogs or 3 dogs. Sorry, they're asking for another one. That's a whole nother episode. It's a lot, right? And then add 30 more people, our crew, and they are in the garage in a production office. So our house is not our own. And it takes some adjustment. But we enjoy it. We feel like we have a platform to show some things that are important to us. And with television right now, there are not that many shows kids and families can watch together. So we wanted to be part of that family-friendly, content.
And how did this show come about? Because you guys have had a reality show sort of thing before. So how did this show sort of get developed?
This is just the next chapter, really. It's a family docuseries that, really chronicles a family that works through things. We have a son with special needs, which a lot of people may or may not know. Our oldest son has autism. That journey is really deep, and we wanted to be able to share that with other families who are experiencing that. Autism is a wide disorder. Does anybody in the audience have anybody or know anybody with autism or special needs? As you know, when you meet one person with autism, you've only met one person with autism. It's such a wide disorder, and not every situation is the same. But for us, we wanted to show and document a family that rallies around their loved one in a way that is really hopeful and positive. It was hard to get that diagnosis, and if we had been able to turn TV on and see a family advocating, it would have been very helpful in our journey. So that's one of the reasons why we did this. But we did have another show on another network, and this is just the next chapter. We're really excited to be on Hallmark Channel.
And you mentioned your son and daughter in the first episode, which I got to see. And guys, it's just such a sweet show. I just really enjoyed it. I think, we're used to reality being so conflict-driven.
Conflict-driven, right.
And this just felt like a real family that I could relate to. And there was a positivity about it that I really enjoyed. So I just want to throw that out there.
Thank you.
But the first episode, you have your twins are turning 20.
Yes.
And RJ has autism, but Ryan does not.
Right.
And I think that conversation that you guys have around that about how she felt growing up, kind of being the sibling who had to take care of him, but maybe got lost in the shuffle sometimes. Was it hard to have that conversation with a camera there?
It was hard for her.
Yeah.
I wanted her, I was egging her on to talk about it. Now, mind you, this was a conversation where my daughter, this is Ryan, and she's twins with RJ, and this is a young lady who never complained the whole time that she was growing up. She had ruined play dates. We had vacations cut short. We'd leave restaurants early because RJ would be on sensory overload or something would happen, and she never complained. She just was the good one. Just did whatever you needed her to do, and it was always about RJ. Now, cut to here she is, a sophomore in college, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it just hit her that moment of some moments of her childhood were taken from her. And I was like, wow, like you got all the way to 20 before you realized it? And she's like, Mom, it really didn't hit me till now. And I said, you should talk about that. And she didn't want to on camera. And I just encouraged her. I said, if it comes out, let's just have a conversation and see what happened. And the next thing you know, we're both crying and we're both having this real conversation. And in the end, I knew it would help other people. We got such a great response hearing back from siblings of special needs, people with special needs, to say, yeah, I get that. Like my brother was a squeaky wheel and I didn't get as much attention, or I felt some kind of way. So it was a great conversation. And I have not seen very many people with autism as characters or protagonists, if you will, on any shows.
Yeah, no, it's very
We've
rare.
got The Good Doctor now, which is great.
There's the only one I can think of.
There's another one called Atypical on Netflix, which is awesome if you get a chance to see that. But in this genre, never.
And RJ's so interesting because he's so sweet and he's so lovable. And when you talk about where you guys started, it must be such a journey for you because you mentioned how the no day where they just told you this is never going to happen, all of that, and how hard. But then you look at RJ and he just seems like this normal kid,
Seems very normal, but he has been through it. I was looking at a photo the other day, speaking of Super Bowl, of RJ go on complete sensory overload. This was Super Bowl in 2004. We were with the Panthers. We were playing the Patriots that year, and we were in Houston. And I was looking through some old pictures, and I was like, oh, look at this picture. It was my brother, Uncle Matt, and Ryan, just sitting in front of the stadium, chilling, and me with my hands on RJ's face, just trying to calm him down. I mean, these are the things that he'd go through. He had no friends almost his whole life. And so all these things he's been through, because he has resourceful parents and he has, we really, really helped him a lot. He's overcome some pretty amazing obstacles. We were told he would never speak, he would never have friends, he would never, drive, have a job. Well, now he drives to work. So these are things that we wanted to share because we think that they would offer hope. He's a pretty special guy, though. He doesn't know how to lie. That's the one thing about people with autism. They really don't lie. They don't play mind games. I think we can learn a lot from them. Yeah. And they're also really good employees. Yes. So we have to hire them.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
And like as you see in the episode, he wants to stay at work. Like they want him to leave early and he's like, no, I would like to finish my shift.
Don't mess with his job.
Exactly, which I loved seeing that. And does he have any hesitations going into this about being a role model or speaking out about his disorder?
Good question. So yes, he kind of does a little bit. Like he has, there are moments where he was feeling like, he would say, I'm not autism. He would just repeat that. And essentially what that meant was it doesn't define me. But when he first started getting his language, that was one of the first things he started to say was, I am not autism. And he would say, I might have autism, but autism doesn't have me. So he would say some deep things when he started to get his voice. The reality is for him is that he understands the concept of being an advocate. Yeah. That's what's happening. And he gets that by being out. Like, we'll be on the street, he's in New York with me now, and we'll be walking the street and someone will walk up and go, thank you, RJ, for sharing your story. He'd be like, are they talking to me? Why are they talking to me? I'm like, honey, because you shared your story and it gave hope to somebody else. People connected. And so he was a little hesitant at first, but he's getting better.
And then you have your two little guys.
Yeah.
Robinson, right?
Robinson and
Roman.
And Roman, yeah.
And for me, they're just like my nephews. They're just these little goofy,
little
funny.
knuckleheaded
I mean,
kids.
he's always rocking his sunglasses.
Those glasses. Okay, we were like, will you take those glasses off? What are those? He goes, Mom, there's a certain kind of glasses that they are. They're like, not Snapchat glasses. I don't know. I got to ask him. He'd be
blockers?
something like that. But there's something technologically relevant about these dumb white glasses he likes to wear. And so he wore them, and we would tell him to take them off. And of course, people were tweeting us saying, we love Robinson's glasses. Right. He was like, see? And then there's Roman, who just won't cut his hair.
That's so cute, though.
Yes. Come
you have to
at 6 in the morning. Why don't you come to my house and sit and get through that hair? Because that's like, you know, getting weed whacking.
I can barely do my own. I don't
Oh
think I
my
can
God. It's so cute when we get it right, but I mean, he's got to do it himself if he doesn't want to cut it. But as you saw, he made a case for that and brought up some pictures of us with afros. Oh no.
It was a legit case.
He might be a lawyer.
Oh, for sure.
He may be a lawyer.
He convinced me. I was like, yeah, Mom, you can't cut that hair.
I was like, wow. And then he brought out Samson from the Bible. I was like, really, dude? So I was like, okay, you know what? All right, maybe for another year, we'll keep this hair.
So all in all, was it hard to get all of these people, your mom included, to agree to do the show, or was everybody on board? Because it is a very personal show.
It is, but again, we're doing a show that's very positive. Sometimes when you see this genre, you see ratchet and people, you know, the tables flipping and wine glasses flying. That's not this show. So the good news about it is that this is a show with an opportunity to share positive messages, which is something we could use more of. It was a little bit of a sell. I certainly had to sell Rodney, because he was like, wait, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Like, what are we talking about? I had to sell Rodney. My mom, not so much, because she loves the camera. She's 81 and she's just feeling herself, right? So she loves, like, you know, her close-up, her little stuff. And she embraces life and she's enjoying it. She got recognized in Bed Bath & Beyond. And so she is,
yes, Mom.
She's feeling herself. Again, with these guys, it was really about advocating for telling their life journey as twins, growing up with autism and what that was like. And so they were a little bit harder sell, but as soon as we got on TV, as soon as that happened, people were coming up to them saying, thank you so much. And then they were like, oh, okay, we get it, we get it.
And I love also that the show is so multi-generational, which I think is something, it made me think about my mom a lot, how she sort of is navigating us and then my grandma and just sort of that. And the fact that your mom lives in the house, the kids all seem really close to her, I think that's also reminding people of how important that is for our elderly to be a part of and not just be kind of left to their own devices. Like, she's very much a part of the mix.
She is. She has a lot to say, and she is part of the mix. My mom is very opinionated. I am so blessed to have a mom like her, and friends of mine whose parents are not with me are just like, you need to cherish her, even when she gets on your nerves, because when she's gone, you'll be like, I wish she was here to get on my nerves. She's one of those women that is like defies her age. She's the opposite of age phobic. So you know those people that are like, I'm 80 something or whatever. She's like, I'm 82. I'm about to be 83 on April 13th. She's very excited about the fact that, you know, she's so vivacious and vibrant.
I would never guess she's 82.
She is so, she will tell you that in the first sentence of meeting her. Hi, I'm Dolores and I'm 82. And I love that about her. You know, I love that about her. And it is great to have this multi-generational viewpoint and perspective. And they go to her and they talk to her about things they can't talk to me about. Yeah. And that is very valuable.
And I love that she's still giving you tips. And what did I read, that she was your manager as well?
Oh yeah, no, she was the original momager.
Yeah.
Before there were other momagers, That was my mom. So my mom, quickly, her story is that we lived in Philadelphia, and my dad was, some of you may be old enough to know my dad was the original Gordon on Sesame Street. So, right, but some of you might not remember my dad because he was on the first, like, 6, 7 years from 68, started in 69. Anyway, so I was a little girl whose daddy was on Sesame Street going to work with Oscar the Grouch and, you know, Big Bird and Cookie Monster. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the dopest job your dad could ever have, right? And I wanted to be on Sesame Street. I had wanted to go on so bad. He didn't want me to go on because he didn't like the idea of child stars, and he didn't want me to get involved in that. And we were living in Philly, came up to New York to shoot it, and I had one line. I blew my one line. I was supposed to say, hi, Gordon, and I kept saying, hi, Daddy. Yeah. And they were like, okay, take her lines away. Just let her hold hands with Big Bird and walk down the street and don't give her no lines. So, yeah, it was really cute. But my mom and dad got divorced when I was really young. My mom said, I'm moving west. I'm moving to California. I'm taking my kids. I'm going to invent a new life. And she went out and became a personal manager when there was, at a time in the 70s where there were no women, African-American personal managers. And she went on to manage the careers of everyone from LeVar Burton to Wesley Snipes, Rosie Perez, and Mariska Hargitay, and Pierce Brosnan, and Martin Sheen, you name it. She's really, and she's a ceiling breaker. So she's seen it all and done it all. So now that she's kind of retired, because she doesn't really say the R word, she has a lot of advice. And by the time I started to be in the business, like when I got 21 Jump Street, she had already been working with other people.
Your mom has layers.
No, I'm telling you, she needs to be writing up. She needs to be on her 3rd book by now.
Are we going to see her talk a little more about her career and stuff in episodes?
Yes,
that's really fascinating.
She will be talking about what she does, and there's an episode where she's honored as like Momager of the Year. So that's going to be really good.
It's so cute.
Yeah.
And you know, we mentioned reality shows can have like a negative connotation.
Yeah.
And I think something that The Real Housewives has done is shown how it can affect marriages, which is a very unfortunate circumstance, I think.
Yeah.
It really, every time I see one of those couples, I'm like, oh, God, that sucks.
Again,
And
we're not doing that show.
Right, so
we're not doing that.
This obviously has a very different tone, but in exposing so much of who you are in your marriage, is that something, do you guys have certain things you will and won't talk about? Or?
Well, sure, like just like any show, but I guess you're right. Some of these other shows, like it's like the more conflict you bring to the storyline, the more they show you. And that's the problem with that format, is that they want you to have conflict. So when we have conflict, we have to resolve it, and we need to get to a resolution by the end of the hour. Like, we're gonna get there. This is not about let it linger and let everybody have attitude with each other. That's not this show. So I think that's what really sets us apart, and which makes us a family docuseries that is really just really skews more positively. We do some things that we like to do to share. We've been almost married 23 years. That is an eternity in, well, it's not an eternity in like most of the world, but out in LA where we live, that's like, you know, a dog's age.
That's a long time.
Yeah, so, and we share some of the things that we, you know, how we try to keep it spicy and romantic and all that. It's very hard when you have this many kids. It's not as romantic all the time as we like it to be. Rodney, you know, played 16 years in the NFL, and you know, we've lived a lot. Yeah. But no, I don't think you. It's funny when you say that, because when I first pitched to Rodney, I said, "Oh, we're gonna do a reality show, honey." He said, "Oh, that mean we gonna get divorced?"
Oh, see, yeah.
I said, "No, honey, no, we're not.
That's not going to be a storyline.
No. This is a family docuseries, and it's going to be chronicling some of the really cool things that we do, especially the HollyRod Foundation things that we're doing."
Yeah, so let's talk. That was going to actually be one of my next questions. Is you've had the HollyRod Foundation for so long, and it started focusing on Parkinson's, and then sort of widened out to also address autism. Yeah. So what are some of the things you guys are working on?
Well, like you said, so we started HollyRod Foundation when my dad was diagnosed in the 80s, like mid-80s, with Parkinson's disease. Now, this was a time before Google, before a lot of you might have been born, and there wasn't a lot of information on Parkinson's then, and it was kind of tough. I was going to school here in New York, and freshman, and it was a rough time. It wasn't until Muhammad Ali came out and really talked about his Parkinson's reasons that my dad felt some hope. And then when I met Rodney, he encouraged us. He said, you know what? You know, we have resources. We should help other families impacted by Parkinson's. We started HollyRod, and then the twins were born, the autism diagnosis, and we said we got to expand our mission to autism as well. But we do some really cool events. One of the events that we did on the show that we're going to chronicle is something called Jump Night with RJ. So RJ loves to jump on trampolines. Okay. A lot of kids with autism like to jump. Just get out. Sensorily, it makes them feel good. It gets their bodies right, and it's really good exercise, right? So RJ jumps all the time. Even at 20, he's still jumping. So we had this jump with RJ. We shut down this whole trampoline park. And you know those trampoline parks where you can go, this place called Sky Zone in LA, and everyone came, and all these autism families, we shut it down just for them. And then so everyone could jump all night long. So we chronicled the jump with RJ. We also did a program with American Airlines, which was amazing. One of the hardest things I had to do with RJ was fly on an airplane.
I can imagine, yeah.
Whew, it's a wonder I am like not in a jail right now, because I would take my kid on the plane and he struggled, and people were not kind.
People don't understand and don't want to understand.
And even when you say, oh, he has autism and he's struggling, they're just like, you know, I don't care. You know, I got to get where I got to get. I'm feeling this kind of way or whatever. It was hard. I used to go in the bathrooms and just cry for, you know, cross country. So American Airlines did something called It's Cool to Fly American. And what they did was take autism families through the airport, give them that experience. The TSA, what's that like? RJ ran away from the TSA one day and set off the alarms, and it was, you know, now they're more trained. They understand what autism looks like. Flight attendants have more training. We got on a plane with all these families, and we taxied around the airport for a while. They got a sense of what it's like.
It's like a trial run.
Yes, yeah. So we documented that for Meet the Peetes, and just really excited to be able to share things that people don't get a chance to see.
I think that sounds like really cool, kind of innovative. It's not like your typical charity where it's just like, here's a dinner, here's actual activities. And I think that trial run thing, I'm going to look into that. Cause that's really,
yeah, it's great. Yeah. It's a great program. They do it in different cities. So if you know someone who has autism or someone who loves someone with autism, definitely tell them to look up the It's Cool to Fly American Airlines program, because it's really great for these kids to have an opportunity to be on that plane before they actually fly. Because that can be tough.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I could talk to you all day, honestly. But I think the audience has some questions.
Oh, okay.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I have a cousin that's autistic, too.
How old?
I think he's like 14 now, or 15. So, like, yeah.
Adolescence.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, like, his parents, my aunt and uncle sometimes have a hard time. I was wondering, I know you had this show, which is, you had a show for Pete's sake. And then,
yes.
With this show, is there much of a difference? It's just on a different network, and with the focus on autism, the change?
That's a great question. We were on another network for a couple years with a different name. This is basically, obviously, it's the same family. It's really just the next chapter, the next steps. I will say that probably the biggest difference between what we did then and what we're doing now on Hallmark Channel is that we are definitely have more of a focus on what is the nucleus of our family, which is RJ and this autism journey. It has shaped us. It has brought us together through tough times, the highs and lows. And the other network was, you know, sort of downplayed it a little bit more. Hallmark Channel embraces it because they know that it resonates with so many families. And we know the prevalence of autism is through the roof in the country, in the world. And you don't see very many people, we talked about it earlier, young people or certainly young people of color on a show with a special need. And so we're proud to be this family. We're certainly proud to be the very first family docuseries on Hallmark Channel. That's exciting.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I think too.
Thank you for the question, and good luck to you and it's your cousin?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does he have language? I'm just asking. Does he speak?
Yeah, he knows words. He repeats things a lot. And
echolalia kind of repeats it. Yeah.
He'll like message me like my name like on Facebook Messenger repeatedly.
Right. Does he have friends?
I'm not sure. Like, I know he goes to school. He might know people there. He likes going to school, I think. But
Do you know the biggest thing about, the hardest thing for us with RJ was that he had no friends. And it wasn't until he got a job and he got a job with this baseball team, the Los Angeles Dodgers, where he developed now he has a whole dugout full of friends. He has people who really care about him. But for the longest, he wasn't able to connect. He did that echolalia thing, and kids were like, that's weird. And when they get to your cousin's age, 14, 15, 16, middle school and stuff, and high school, it's really tough. That was another thing that we wanted to talk about on the show.
I would think
Thank you so much
that
for your
age,
question.
and I think that's what's interesting about RJ's age too, is because it's like that post-education time. It's like, okay, now he's an adult.
Yeah,
What's
now what?
next?
It's
And I
like
think it's interesting to see you guys navigating that with
It's
him.
like a cliff.
Yeah.
So when you always think about kids with autism, they're like, 3, 4, 5, 6. They grow up, they become adolescents. Being an adolescent is tough when you're a typical kid, but when you have autism, it's especially tough. And then when you get to the age of being a young adult, it's like, okay, we're done, no more school. Then it's like this, it's like a ledge, like a cliff they fall off. And there's got to be stuff for them to do. And one of the biggest things that we're working on now is for HollyRod is pre-vocational skills to help them get jobs, because that's important.
That's so important.
Yeah.
Next.
Hi.
Hi.
I think it's so beautiful that you open your house up to the world. One thing I would ask, what is the message that you want the world to hear, or how would you like to devise that to the world?
Thank you for that question. I would say inclusion, compassion. People that just because someone is different from you or has a disorder doesn't make them any less important as a citizen. I would say that these young people need jobs and communities to support them. And just because they have autism doesn't mean they cannot be a good employee. My son is one of the best employees the Dodgers have ever had in their life. I'm telling you, like, they absolutely love him over there. And it's not because he's my son or Rodney's son. It's because he goes to work. He shows up on time. He's very into his schedule. He will never be late. He does everything people want him to do. And I think the more we celebrate these corporations that are hiring these young people, I think the better. So when I think of the Dodgers or Microsoft or FedEx or some of these organizations that are going out and actually recruiting them, because they have skills, outside the box brains, right? They think about things differently. And this needs to be celebrated. And so I would say just inclusion, celebration, compassion, positivity, all that.
Yeah. That's all good. I can get on board with that.
Yeah.
And we have one last question.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
You look great.
Oh,
I just wanted
thank
to say
you.
that, by the way.
I woke up like this.
That dress is amazing.
Don't pay attention to the hair and makeup people in the back.
Yes. So I'm 38 now, and I find myself snacking all the time because I have little babies. I have 2 small babies at home, and I wanted to find out, what do you do to stay fit?
Well, the number one thing I do is snacking is my issue too. I literally will wake up in the middle of the night and snack, and then wake up in the morning and see wrappers I don't remember eating. It's just something that I do. I would say the biggest thing is like not eating after a certain time. Like I put a hard stop on when I'm doing good. I put a hard stop around 7 o'clock, about 7 or 8 o'clock. Don't eat past then. And you know what? The biggest, most important thing I think is forcing yourself or trying to get some sleep, which in this house is very difficult. And then some kind of movement exercise. You don't have to, you see those people doing those big ropes and stuff. It doesn't have to be that. It just needs to be some kind of movement, whether it's walking, whether it's something every single day, if you can, at least 3-4 times a week. Just keep moving. Even if it's chasing those little guys around, or doing something with them.
Okay. Thank you.
You look beautiful, though.
Oh, thank you.
You look good.
You look like you're 15.
Doesn't she? I was
Yes.
like, okay.
Yeah.
38.
Yeah. So,
Well, Holly, this was really fun chatting with you.
Oh, thank
Everybody,
you.
make sure you check out Meet the Peetes. It's on 10/9 Central on Sundays on the Hallmark Channel. Give it up for Holly.
thank you so much.